Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Tiana here once again, and I'm back for yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, specifically Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy / Game Boy Color. So, last time, we have managed able to done quite a number of things in the last video, such as, for instance, we've managed able to receive the next key to the next dungeon that we can able to progress, and on top of all that stuff though, we did manage to able to go into Yonyor Desert by able to take down Len Monla, and also we did manage to able to explore an exclusive dungeon that you can only find for the sake of the forms of the Game Boy Color version, along with the Switch remake, which appears to be the Color Dungeon, and that was actually quite cool looking, even though it was a bit tough at times, but regardless of such though, we actually did that no problem. So, before I get into more details onto that, Woot, the windfish sleeps long and dreamily in the egg above. When you play the 8 Saurian instruments in front of the egg, he will awaken. This, my friend, is the only way for you to leave the island. Woo. Okay, thanks for the actual little info right there. So if you go out there, this is where you find the egg itself, but of course, though we haven't exactly got all 8 instruments at this point, so don't worry, we will be back for this eventually, so it just might take some bit of time to able to actually just to get to this point. So yeah, onto that particular location as you see on that particular text box as far as I was gonna read, but of course I was a little bit too tired at this point today, so forgive me if I somehow managed to bodge everything else up to this point. So anyways, let's go and get ourselves the power of the piece of power again, so that way we can able to make things a lot more easy to manage, because look at how devastating that was if you somehow managed able to equip not only the red tunic outfit, but also if you get yourselves the piece of power. That way you'll become incredibly powerful when it comes to likely for sword swinging attacks for certain enemy encounters, as far as you probably already know. So anyways, let's insert the key into this little keyhole over there, and this will actually reveal the next dungeon. So, and how do we get there exactly? Well, we need to find a specific pathway we need to get to there. So, but either way though, it might take some bit of time to able to get into that specific stuff, and it looks like we actually stumbled across another portal right here, so that way we will able to, you know what I mean, warp straight onto the forms of those different spots and stuff like that. So either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because admittedly though, is the fact that we did manage to able to just, well, find a portal, and that's pretty much about it. So today, I was gonna able to try to save by the beginning, well, for the sake of the forms of the beginning portion of this video, that exponentially for this episode is the fact that we're about to be able to get started with the next dungeon. So either way though, and exponentially we can able to actually receive the next instruments too. So either way though, but before we do with all that stuff though, there are certain things we need to take care of. Oh jeez Louise, those bombs can able to hurt you throughout. But at the very least though, we've pretty much already got the actual, the hearts to begin with, so just in case we can able to replenish our health. So, yeah, I guess that's totally obvious for the sake of time. So, and now let's just go and lift up another rock. So, seriously, it will become a little bit repetitive though. Although, thankfully though, until on the Switch remake, as far as you already know, that it fixes a lot of issues as far as I'm usually concerned with. So yeah, let's just explore for this particular place for now on, before we hit on to the forms within the next dungeon in the game. So we can pretty much expect that we will definitely gonna have to come across into certain more secrets, and also just, well, everything else potentially. So, anyways, let's double check what's beyond in here, so we can able to actually see some more familiar enemies as we've already faced off against from the likes of the past few dungeons ago, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess that probably explains it for the sake of time. Alright, so there's a staircase here, so, and of course we need to be fast on this, because if you stand on that particular crumbling floor for too long, or this cracked floor rather, then basically you will lose your health. So, yeah, just be very careful, so. Alright, so hopefully we'll grind some of more rupees every once in a while, so just in case we can able to actually just to guarantee to able to spend on something. So, and there's a piece of heart right here, but we can't get to there yet, because obviously we do need to able to require specific stuff in mind. So in this case though, we'll just, oh, there's a treasure chest over there, so we'll just, equip the Pegasus Boots to able to break those green stuff here. And, oh wait a second, we can't get to that treasure chest just yet, so... Oh, seriously? Those things just respawn, and then every once in a while, the text box just interrupts you, so... But at the very least, we get ourselves some more rupees here, so that should be nice. So, anyway, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is the fact that, today's day is, of course, the, I would say it is the 20th of September today, in this case, in 2022 today, and I can't believe why I'm saying this, is the fact that one of those games in particular for the Nintendo Switch, which is the forms of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake for the Switch, has recently turned to 3 years old today. So I can't believe that particular remake has been out for 3 years now, which is pretty shocking if you ask me, especially noticeable because I always enjoy the remake, because as a result of that kind of stuff though, with this unique art style, and on top of all that stuff though, with some more heart containers to include, and on top of all that stuff though, how fun the game it looks, for the sake of the Switch remake, and wow, I somehow managed able to get 2 pieces into one, with all that, you know, dealing with enemies and such, for like, obtain a piece of power, and also obtain the Guardian Acorn all at once, so... That's actually pretty swell, despite the fact that the actual, the music is going to be constantly going to be playing through, starts to get a little bit irritating at times, but... Either way though, let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point, because, well... We almost nearly at the top of this particular point itself right there, but of course, I don't think we can able to actually do anything up there at the moment, because, well, we do need able to require specific upgrades and stuff like that, so... Yeah, let's talk to this fellow right here, so just in case we can able to actually give him something, such as, we're able to actually give him this particular, the thing itself. Which, again, I do apologize about the fact that my commentary is a little bit iffy at this point today, because it's been about a couple of days ago since I actually last played this game, so, and this is where we get ourselves the flower, so, I wonder we can able to give that to exactly. Well, we'll find out until whenever we're able to continue our tradition for the sake of the actual item training, so, yeah, I guess that pretty much summarizes as such. Speaking of the item trading, basically, we're basically almost done with the forms of the majority of the item trading for the sake of the forms of this game. So, and exponentially speaking, that as soon as we're done with the majority of everything, then basically we will able to get ourselves our familiar item bag from the sake of the forms of the previous Zelda games, ever since in Zelda 1, as well as A Link to the Past, and you name the rest. So, and I'm sure most people already know what I'm about to exactly try to say about this, so... And this is where you're able to actually just to head back onto that specific stuff though, which is self-explanatory right there, although, unfortunately though, I think I've somehow screwed up, because... Well, I can assure you that if you enter that particular room again, that particular rock will respawn. So, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. But that's only mainly because I was going to show you guys the forms of that particular, the exit way to able to actually just get to this point. But that's not to say that the reason why I actually did this on by complete accident is probably because there's another item trading sequence we can possibly be able to do, and that if we try to able to find one of those NPCs and stuff like that, well, I'm sure I'll explain more now in a second, because either way though, yeah, it looks like Marin is still singing along into the forms of that particular Ballad of the Windfish and stuff, so yeah, that's super cute and everything. Especially noticeable, I really do love the actual huge emphasis on the forms of the 8-bit sound renditions of certain music and stuff like that, because it's so iconic and nostalgia, like, based fan base or something like that, so, yeah, I guess that probably explains it how. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and, head back for a little bit, and then hopefully we'll try to make our way to you know, the next dungeon throughout, but of course there's no faster way we can able to do this at the moment, because we still need able to go for the longest route if possible, and that's because of how the fact that I accidentally left the actual, the front portion of this next dungeon throughout, but that's only mainly because, again, I just want to show you guys of how certain stuff throughout is gonna play out to be, so... yeah, we'll just head back, but thankfully it's not too far, I don't think. Especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, assuming if you're able to come across into yourselves Rock's Feather, and then exponentially you get able to skip some portions of certain slow parts, but that doesn't excuse the fact that sometimes that it's probably my fault for able to accidentally just manage to stumble across into a number of things, so... anyway, so another thing I would like to explain while this is going on, actually I'll explain more of that in a moment until whenever we dive right into the next dungeon in the game, so we can pretty much able to save that conversation until whenever we get to that point, so... anyways, let's use the Pegasus Boots here, even though it seems kind of pointless as far as I'm usually trying to concern with that stuff, because, well, I've got no worse to think about it, although I think it's pretty much as obvious because of how the fact that, well, I just always get confused with that particular commentary. I do apologize for this point, folks, because it's been, like I said before, a few days ago since I actually last played this for surely, but hey, leads to something, I guess. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the next dungeon in this game, and this is known as Angular's Tunnel. Wow, that could be something more related to a lot of emphasis on water. So, yeah, only one floor for the sake of time. So, in this case though, let's get this thing started. Son of a biscuit! That particular stupid enemy right there just trying to ambush me all of a sudden. But luckily though, we can able to actually use the shield, so just in case we can able to tip them over, so we can able to just attack him like, almost like instantly. So... anyways, let's open this chest to contain, as usual, the compass, so we can definitely see where the treasures are, as well as the forms of the Nightmare's key was actually located. So, yeah, I guess that probably explains it. Although, exponentially speaking though, again, I was originally trying to able to mention something more related to the forms of the gaming releases and stuff like that, but... luckily though, for the sake of the forms of today's discussion video, in regards of the forms of while this is happening, recently we finally got ourselves some more info for the sake of the forms of Sonic Frontiers. So yeah, that's actually pretty awesome actually, especially noticeable because I'm still looking forward to that game until when it comes out, until 2 months time now. Which, yes, in addition to able to getting ourselves some more info for the sake of Sonic Frontiers, but also we got ourselves the release date as well, which it turns out is going to be releasing once again in November, just like in the forms of how it does it on the past Sonic games, specifically modern Sonic releases, such as for instance ever since in, let's say since Sonic Unleashed, or Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, because usually relatively speaking, it just always continues that tradition, for the sake of the forms of November's releases for certain Sonic games as far as I'm concerned. Like, for instance, that in Sonic 06 obviously came out in November 2006, despite it's being rushed and all that stuff. And also on top of all that stuff though, Sonic Unleashed came out during the course of into 2008 in November. Well, specifically the Xbox 360 version along with the PlayStation 2 version, the Wii version, and it wasn't until the PlayStation 3 version roll around during in December. So, it is, at least as far as I can usually try to describe it for it. And as far as Sonic Colors are concerned, well, obviously the Wii and DS versions of the game I'm more referring to. Obviously those two versions of the game came out during in November 2010. And then in Sonic Generations roll around and also in November, but in forms of in 2011, both on the console versions, on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, as well as the forms of the 3DS version as well. And same applies to the forms of Sonic Forces, which also came out in November, but usually in 2017. So relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that, well, I think I actually lost track of myself about the fact that... Oh, and also say it applies to the atrocious Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, along with a decent Sonic Boom Shadow Crystal in my opinion. Well, that's only mainly because of how the fact that, well, despite Shadow Crystal also has some issues there, but I don't feel like it's nowhere near as, like, unplayably broken as the forms of that god-awful Wii U game. But regardless of everything else though, yeah, Sonic Frontiers is going to be releasing in November for this year, as far as I mentioned this earlier, but it's going to be releasing until on the 8th of November, so that means it'll actually decide able to realize about the fact that we could possibly be able to actually play a bit of a Sonic game whilst this is happening. Although I'm not exactly 100% sure on that though, this is only because of how the fact that this is all depending on the forms of the actual uploading schedules alike, for the sake of the forms of, well, I don't know what you would say for this point, so... And by the way, you could also pull off some neat shortcuts like this, for instance, but I highly recommend you don't do that, because, well, for one thing, obviously the treasure chest was located over there, and in order to get to that though, we do need that specific, item to equip. Well, usually at all times though, mind you. That's basically though, as you can tell, since we fell into the water, this means we took damage. So because of that though, just like it evolves of how it does it on, you know, A Link to the Past, that we do need that specific item needs to be equipped. So, well, for the sake of the forms of how the fact that we do need to get that somehow. So, anyways, let's go ahead and equip the combination of, you know, Rock's Feather along with the Pegasus Boots, so just in case we can able to just progress. So, yeah, this is what I mean when it comes to the forms of the item switching problem, because it's just, it feels a bit too tedious if you manage able to do this way. So, but I digress. So, anyway, and also on top of all that stuff though, it's usually thanks to the forms of the Gamescom this year, for the sake of the forms of Gamescom 2022, that in addition to able to bring ourselves some, you know, more info on Sonic Frontiers, but also the new release date for the game is going to be on November, which I think, fundamentally speaking, with the actual release date in mind, Sonic Frontiers is going to be coming out a week before, I would say a week before, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Although, mind you, that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is going to be releasing on 18th of November, so at least it's that, I guess. And, as far as I'm aware, Sonic Frontiers is going to be releasing a day before God of War Ragnarok, for the sake of the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 versions. So yeah, that's actually pretty interesting with those specific release dates is getting closer to each other. So at the very least though, I think it's all pretty much settled for now on, for the sake of the forms of 2022. Despite the fact that I think I should probably save that conversation, or should I say, when Maxi were able to discuss more details onto this though, if he ever goes onto the forms of in the final video, for the sake of the forms of 2022 as a result, because, well, I think it's probably best to save that conversation until whenever we get to that point. So, oh boy, I think I've run out of keys though, so that's definitely not good for my liking, especially noticeable because I accidentally pull off a shortcut because, well, relatively speaking though, I think that might be a bad idea. Especially noticeable because it doesn't help about the fact that I was going to use my analog stick for my DualShock 4, for the sake of the forms of trying to able to get a full diagonal movement, but it turns out that it doesn't work that way, so looks like it's somehow managed able to do this dungeon in the hard way, unfortunately. But hopefully it's all by that time until on the forms of specifically this particular first day in mind, then I should be able to actually do it the normal way next time, because, well, I just got no words to able to actually describe how the fact that how come I just somehow managed to do it the hard way, so, oh well, it's not the end of the world personally, but still, it just feels a little bit weird at points, but still. Oh yeah, I should probably point things out as well, I guess, is the fact that I suppose that I would able to actually discuss this right about now. For the sake of the forms of this particular weekend, thanks to the forms of how the fact that since that Pac-Man, he's almost finishing up with, you know, Donkey Kong Land 3, because after all, that he only got one more thing left until that particular, you know, Let's Play will be finished. that he might decide able to actually just to save the finale video at some point on this Sunday, because he did tell me the other day that maybe I can probably able to add it in the extra part for this game in particular this coming Saturday. That's only mainly because of how the fact that he just wanted able to finish the game during at some point in this Sunday. So because of that, I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. Especially noticeable, I do need able to get this game finished as well before we move on to the next set of Let's Plays in the future for certain franchises that we do need able to keep a track of for the sake of the forms of not only the Zelda games, but also the Metroid series of games as well, in addition to Kirby games as well, as far as I can tell. And also some other gaming franchise we'd really like to able to show you guys with those specific Let's Plays in mind too. But, relatively speaking though, that won't be for any time soon, just because, well, I've got no plans to think about it for the sake of time at this point, so... Actually, kind of think about it is the fact that the Angular's Cavern music is actually more accurately like the faster version of the cave section music. So, yeah, I thought it was worth noting for the sake of the forms of trying to mention some stuff like this, so... Anyways, let's open up this door, and I'm presuming, yeah, we only got one key left, so at least thankfully we can able to open this up, and this is where we fight against ourselves, another mini-boss, this time what appears to be by the forms of, I would say, Hydrosaur. So basically, in order to deal with this particular boss fight, is the fact that this is where you have to equip the Pegasus Boots at all times. So just in case you can able to actually just do some instant charges onto the forms of its weak spots, as you can see on screen. And then the more you do it, then basically it starts to get a little bit tough and tricky. Especially noticeable, he now starts to move a lot faster than everyone else to be expected for. And, yeah, that's basically how this boss fight plays out. It's, pretty easy when you get the hang of it, though. Especially noticeable because if you somehow equip the sword, along with the forms within, the Pegasus Boots as well, then you deal with him no problem. So, it's just the fact that the only time is a little bit tricky for you, is the fact that you have to be so fast on specific parts. So, and there it goes. So that's the actual, oh goodness gracious, the thing is closing in! But thankfully though, we somehow managed able to escape in time, so... And pull this little lever switch over there, and... Oh, good. Oh, that was actually quite close. So from here, in addition to get ourselves another Guardian Acorn, but also the most important item throughout the game, and that is none other than the Flippers. Which means you can now finally swim in the water. So that means you don't need to worry about keep on falling into the water and lose some lives. So, or lose a bit of health, I should say. So, yeah, now we can able to swim. So, just like it Forms of Valor does in on A Link to the Past, basically does the fact that, well, if you jump straight into the water, then you can obviously decide able to swim for yourselves, or just trying to able to dive on certain situations. Well, I don't think there's any underwater diving sequence we can probably come across into anytime soon. But anyway, let's just solve this little puzzle right here, that when the actual sparkle starts able to show, and that way it'll activate the door that I've already went into. So, what's the point in that, huh? Anyway, so let's just go ahead and deal with another puzzle right here, so we can pretty much guarantee that we will definitely get out to solve this, So anyway, and another thing I would like to able to point things out in regards to the forms of Sonic Frontiers, basically they get ourselves the pre-order bonuses. Depending on what specific editions you get, they get ourselves different amounts of rewards based off on what specific editions you can get. Such as, for instance, if you somehow managed able to get, you know, the Adventures Treasure Box, you're able to actually receive 3 items, which are red seeds of power and blue seeds of defense, and also skill points as well. However, if you decided able to pre-order the game as in the digital deluxe version, because yes, there's also that too. And basically, the rewards you can get, if you managed able to get the digital deluxe edition of Sonic Frontiers, you're able to actually get even more items to spare. Like, for instance, you're able to get yourselves the Explorer's Treasure Box, and this obviously contains Amy's memory tokens, a portal gear, Chaos Emerald Vault keys, additional shoes and gloves for Sonic, just like the forms of how it does on Sonic Colors Ultimate, as far as I can tell. And also we got ourselves the, well, a digital art book with a 25-track digital mini soundtrack. So, yeah, I guess that's that, I guess. And also about the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, I'm just so looking forward to able to actually see the actual gameplay in action within a glorious, better quality than the forms of how it does it on, well, the previous trailers for the game. Especially noticeable that some people managed to point things out. They did somehow manage to fix the actual combat animations, because unlike the forms of how it does it in, during the forms of the majority of summer, the good lord, the actual combat animation just feels a bit off. But thankfully though, on the forms of in the Gamescom 2022 trailer, that thankfully the animations is a lot more better than the forms of how it does it on, well, back in June anyway, just because I just have no idea why that Sonic is almost completely flipped out. But anyways, let's get the key, and we should probably be able to actually explore the majority of the dungeon for the sake of time now. So, and I think, relatively speaking though, is the fact that we're almost at the halfway point in terms of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the sake of the Game Boy Color version of the game already. Well, that's only mainly because of how the fact that, well, despite the forms of some confusion here and there, but regardless of anything else though, I think we're actually going to be doing this just fine, so... Anyway, so now it does it for that particular room. So I think we should probably be able to continue things on for this point. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and use the, oh, really? My movement doesn't seem to able to pop out most of the time. Or, to be more specifically, my jumps does not register all that much. Okay, come on. Really? Come on. This is ridiculous. Especially noticeable because, well, it's all about timing as well, I think. But anyway, look, we've pretty much made it at this point right here, right now. And despite we haven't still actually stumbled across ourselves the actual dungeon map yet, so hopefully we'll get around to it at some point, so please do not worry, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, I think we are basically almost done with this dungeon, I'm presuming so, oh boy, now we just need to make our leaps of faith for that particular trick jump I was gonna able to pull this off through, but, yeah, best wish me luck, because I just simply don't want to able to die right here, so... I think this is actually a bad idea from the get-go, because, well, that'll just make things a lot harder to able to actually just get to this point, so... Which reminds me about the fact that I think I somehow accidentally skipped the treasure chest over there. So there we go, now we've got the map, and let's have a look at the forms of the map itself. Yeah, it turns out that we're almost pretty much done with this particular dungeon itself. So, yeah, that seems, amusing, as far as I'm usually concerned with this stuff. So... But, yeah, I guess there's not much else I can honestly try to talk about for the sake of time, folks. Although, thankfully, we can able to use the portal right here, so just in case it'll make the, certain segments a lot more faster to travel. So, at the very least, we did manage to able to accomplish that. So, yeah, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. Are you guys excited when it comes to the forms of Sonic Frontiers? Finally got its release date, and it's going to be on this holiday season. So, specifically, 8th of November for the sake of the forms of this year, because let me tell you, I was very happy for it. Especially noticeable, I cannot wait to play the open zone Sonic game for the very first time in years. Especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that I'm just really looking forward to see what's anything new for Sonic. So, anyways, let's activate that particular switch, so just in case we can able to just, well, use the final key for the sake of the forms of this section. And from here, not only do we need to able to stumble across those specific cheap-like enemies, but also about the fact that we can use the Nightmare Key to, well, take on the next boss. So... And exponentially speaking though, is the fact that we can pretty much guarantee that we will definitely get out to able to do some other side of things throughout, so... Alright, so let's shove this block and defeat those slimy-like enemies like usual. And before we take on the next boss, we need to double check on these parts, and so far only one heart is in it, so... Oh, what's this? Oh, that's different. So if we swim down here... Oh my god! Blub, blub, glub, glub. Blurb, blurb. That's all he has to say. So basically, here's the next boss fight in this game, called the Angler's Fish. Or should I say, the Angler Fish. And... he's easy. He's definitely a piece of joke in this version. Although, mind you, on the Switch version, that makes things a bit challenging and difficult, which I'll probably should save that conversation until when it gets to that particular point. But there we go, we got ourselves the Surf Harp. Just get it, because we managed to traverse for a water temple nonetheless. So with that being said, yeah, 4 instruments down, and it looks like we've only got 4 more to go. So yeah, bay. Your road goes into the bay. Alright, that'll be the next destination we need to go into, but obviously we can't do that right now anyway though, just because we need to take care of some other things first. Such as, for instance, we need to go in here and talk to this particular NPC right here. I am Mambo, child of the sun. Fish. Have you got an ocarina? Yes, I do. Ah, haha. Then, obviously, we will able to learn the next song. Because since that we've already teach one song from the likes of Marin, so I believe we were able to get ourselves the second song for this particular Mambo right here. Although technically there's also the third song as well, but we'll probably discuss more details onto that if we get to that point. So there we go. So from here we can able to learn the Mambo's Mambo. Okay, that's basically how this is. So I believe what this does is that this allows you to able to teleport into any different spots for the certain water spots that you can able to actually just teleport it from. Which I'm probably not going to show this to you right now, just because, well, first of all, we need to focus on the forms of some side quests to deal with, such as, for instance, with the item trading, that I think we can probably able to wrap things up everything for the item trading, and exponentially we can do just that. So, and if we swim over there, then we get ourselves another piece of heart. So, yeah, that's all for that. And speaking of heart containers, we're now on to 8. So, yeah, it seems like we are pretty much almost nearly at the forms of, well, it's hard to explain for this point, really, guys. I mean, it's just the fact that, again, do apologize if the commentary gets a little bit off at this point, because, well, I just want able to actually get this obvious, side quests done and over with before we move on to, certain parts throughout. So, anyways, let's swim over here and, just try to able to get out of the actual water itself. Although, we could possibly be able to go to the other side over there, but we can't get to there just yet, because we do need that specific item we need to get if we decide able to make our way to the next point of the entire Pulant Island. So, and of course, we actually obviously equip the actual Guardian Acorn, which it might be helpful in my case, because obviously I keep on getting hit by quite a few bombs exponentially, as you can tell. But relatively speaking, though, I think there's just not much else I can explain about this for the sake of time, so... So anyway, so let's just go ahead and leave this particular part from now on, and take care of these more enemies like so. And from here, we can able to actually just to continue exploring through certain spots throughout the majority of the forms of, well, pretty much everything, as far as you highly doubt it will be. So anyways, let's go ahead and go through here. And hopefully we're able to actually kind of think about it though. If I have to double check on certain things throughout, then I'm also able to actually see what's really... Oh god, I got cornered! Oh jeez, I honestly did not know that the fireball does manage to also attack me as well, so... That was a bit of a mistake for the sake of time, and... I really hate this. Well, nothing irritating per se, but it's just the fact that it's so annoyingly consistent sometimes if you keep on, you know, come across into exactly the same message dialogue every time you interact with things. So, but relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that it's just so annoying. But, anyway, so let's just, actually kind of think about it. Let's not focus on that way, because obviously that particular heart piece, as we saw, that we can't actually access to. So, yeah, I do apologize about the fact that my commentary is a little bit iffy at points today, because, well, I already mentioned about the fact that I was very excited to see Sonic Frontiers has actually got its release date now. So, either way, though, I'm just so excited able to see how that game is actually going to turn out. So, but we'll just see what happens during at some point until this November. So, yeah, we can pretty much expect how this is going. So, anyway, so let's double check on the map. It feels like we've almost filled up everything for the entire map. So, relatively speaking, though, yeah, that pretty much summarizes as such. So, anyways, let's go over to... Oh, God, what is up with this ghost? Ah, it's chasing me! Get away from me! Oh, wait a minute. That could be summarized as the forms of one of those, I would say, side quests to tackle through. But, relatively speaking, though, hopefully we'll, try to find our way to able to actually just to let this ghost try to, like, not to chase me all around and stuff like that. And somehow we ended up back onto this gravestone segment, which... I know for the fact that, well, as I mentioned this before, you can able to revisit the colored dungeon if you wanted to. If you really want to go after the next, well, I don't know, equipment, I guess. And it looks like we actually stumbled across another piece of heart right here. Now, I know for the fact that technically we're not supposed to do it right now, but I'm actually going to be doing this the hard way by doing, oh boy, making a leaps of faith and just hope for the best, really. So, yeah, it's just, you know, it's very difficult if you manage to do this. Oh! Ah, darn it, I was so close. But, again, it's just the fact that it's just my analog stick doesn't seem to register my, diagonal movements and stuff like that for the sake of, you know... Oh, jeez, this isn't good. Okay, come on, Link. Come on, Link! You can do this! I have faith in you. Especially noticeable because you really want to get the heart so badly. Oh, what? Oh, jeez, this is definitely not good. But, oh! Okay, I made it. I've made it, people! I've done the hard part! Oh, jeez. That took me a couple of tries. But, thankfully, we've now able to restore our health. And on top of all that stuff, though, our heart count is now up to 9. So, yeah. Hey. That was a bit frustrating though, I must admit, especially noticeable because that was not meant to do it for the sake of the forms of doing this originally, so oh well, but at least we got it at the end, so anyway, oh, those gosh darn crow birds. But, hopefully we'll try to find a safe spot until whenever we're able to end off the video, because at this point in time, that, we will definitely gonna have to able to... Actually, gonna think about it, we'll probably gonna have to save the item trading, stuff, until specifically in the next video, I could assure you, for the sake of time, just because, well, obviously I'm out of time, so, I guess that makes it pretty obvious for the sake of time, so, yeah, it feels like the ghost is never gonna go away, I don't think, because it looks like we do need to find that specific spot for him until he basically just give up following us, so I can basically understand why he constantly follows me throughout the whole thing, so, yeah, I guess with that being said though, I think we should probably end things off at this point right here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy / Game Boy Color, and that's the house. Take me. Oh, we need to find his house, apparently. So, that'll be the hint for the next dungeon, I'm presuming so. So I'll see you guys and join at some point on this first day. Later, fellas.